You've seen the stunning photos, the carefully curated pictures, and the group text about dress code, but behind these perfectly planned moments, there's a truth many of us are scared to admit. Sometimes weddings become the ultimate test of friendship boundaries and social grace. What happens when your closest friend expects an extravagant destination bachelorette but doesn't consider your budget? When you've RSVP'd yes but suddenly face a family emergency? Or when you're a couple planning your wedding and you're torn between family expectations and your personal boundaries with your guest list? Stay with us as we unpack the delicate dance of wedding friendship etiquette, those moments when you're balancing genuine celebration with reasonable limits, all while preserving a relationship that matters beyond the big day. We'll explore how to navigate these tricky situations with honesty and grace, whether you're wearing the veil or simply raising a glass to the happy couple. Welcome to Wedding Hunter Bridesmaid, a podcast where real-life drama meets unfiltered advice. I'm Jen Glantz, the founder of Bridesmaid for Hire and the author of Finally the Bride. Every episode, a new caller will share their honest and raw dilemma on friendship, love, weddings, and so much more. An expert and I will give advice, and you can chime in too with what you think they should do. Will they listen? Well, we'll soon find out. And P.S., 1-800-Bridesmaid is a Love Stories by David's podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Pearl Planner. Our wedding day was perfect, but 18 months ago, I was overwhelmed, behind, and buried in spreadsheets with 300 tasks ahead of me. Then I found Pearl Planner. Now Pearl Planner gets everything out of my head and off my list. It's like having a type A best friend who helps you plan your wedding, except she's powered by AI, so you won't wake her up when you message her at 3 a.m. I just answered a few questions and boom, vision board, personalized checklist, tailored to my style, my budget, and my venue. No more spreadsheets I forget to update, no more sticky notes stuck to my dog. Everything is in one place and it actually makes sense. This morning I said, Pearl, my mother-in-law added 7 more guests. Help. Pearl just took care of it so I could take care of myself. When I want to check things off, I do. When I don't, I just ask Pearl AI to help. Dress recs? Done. For me, my bridal party, my cousin who insists on statement sleeves? Handled. Need help wording your invitation? Pearl's got it. Need honeymoon recs? Already packed my sunscreen. And because Pearl's connected to David's Bridal, every purchase earns me diamond points. So yeah, I'm literally planning my way to a free honeymoon. Planning doesn't feel like a second job anymore, it feels fun. Pearl Planner. Wedding planning powered by AI, fueled by love. Start planning now for free.
Joining me today is Mariah Grumet, an etiquette trainer and the author of the modern wedding etiquette book, What Do I Do? Welcome to the show, Mariah.
Thank you, Jen. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming today. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Me too. And we're in our matching sparkly pink, and we didn't even plan it.
We did not even plan it, but sparkly pink is the way to go when we're talking about wedding etiquette, which is a really big topic. I mean, you wrote an entire book about it. Let's just talk about, I want to get right to it with the mistakes.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest mistakes people make with wedding etiquette?
I think it all comes from the lack of upfront communication. You know, when we think about how weddings have evolved and traditions and etiquette, you know, there's some rules that we want to follow, like hello, thank you notes, writing thank you notes, but there are some things too that you want to make your own and you might not want to do that are looked to as more traditional. But I think that in terms of the etiquette, if we look at it less as the rules, but really how we handle the guest experience and also the experience of our loved ones, a lot of that comes from how we communicate upfront.
It's interesting because do you feel like wedding etiquette is the same etiquette as we have how we deal with other types of parties or friendship in general, or does everything change all of a sudden when we plan a wedding?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's space for both. I think the emotions are heightened during wedding planning. There is a certain seriousness to it, and there's also a lot more people involved in it. There's more opinions. There's more people we're trying to please or not. And so I think that's where it becomes a little bit more sensitive than perhaps a different celebration.
If you're talking to a person who's like, I am non-traditional, I don't want to follow a cookie cutter wedding, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing, do they still need to follow traditional etiquette? Are there things that they can say, okay, I can pick and choose? Or are there rules that you're like, no matter who you are, you have to do these things?
That's a great question. I love a non-traditional approach, and people are surprised to hear that sometimes because of what I do, but my wedding was actually less traditional. So I say, if you can have the wedding of your dreams and do what you want, you absolutely should, but you can't do that without considering your guests. So like I said, thank you notes is something that's not optional, no matter what type of wedding you're having. If you think about how you're communicating things via your invitation, those are things that still stand true in terms of the guest experience. But whether you're having a super traditional, by-the-book, old-fashioned wedding or not, it's more so creating that guest experience. Those are the etiquette things you want to keep in mind. I don't really care whether or not you throw your bouquet or not.
Yeah. When you say guest experience, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like how they are treated at the wedding? Are you talking about how they're treated before and after, the whole combo? What does that look like?
The whole combination. So it's, making sure, even if we think about maybe the etiquette of timing, right? When we're sending out save the dates, if we're using save the dates, when we're sending out invitations, how we're communicating, how we're collecting RSVPs, the experience for them when they attend the wedding. Are we thinking of things to make their experience better? Perhaps providing transportation from a hotel. And maybe you're not even paying for all of these things, but you're at least saying, okay, what can I provide my guest with to make their experience better? Maybe that's if it's a destination wedding or a wedding that's local to you, but maybe not local for all of your guests. Maybe you're giving them a list of things to do while they're there for the weekend. So it's those little things that are enhancing their experience, but it's less about the maybe traditions that were once, looked upon as necessary.
Yeah, I love that because I think people blend tradition and etiquette together. They think, okay, etiquette is making sure that you walk down a straight aisle and you wear all white and all these things, but really etiquette is would you say it's how you treat other people?
Exactly. Okay. It's how we make people feel, and it's about social awareness and emotional intelligence. So if we can kind of think 2 steps ahead of people of how I can make someone's experience better, whether it's as small as an interaction as, meeting someone at a coffee shop or as big of a wedding, it's really about that. The respect for others, the consideration for others. The traditions are whether or not you choose to have them. They differ culturally, things like that. So when I look at etiquette, I look at it as a set of tools to help our confidence and help us know what to do, not necessarily rules we need to follow. With that being said, there are some things that, are important, when it comes to maybe a little bit more rule-based, like the timing of the invitations, as we spoke about. Maybe that's a little bit more rigid. But in terms of you having the wedding of your dreams, it's so nuanced. I mean, everybody's situations are so individualized with family dynamics, personal preferences, different, religious and cultural aspects. It's hard to say that there's hard and fast rules that apply to everybody.
Besides
the thank you notes. How many times am I going to say
that?
I'm
like, okay, thank you notes. So they have to, can you just tell me this real fast? So they have to be on paper. Can we email, I don't know if you're going to like this, but my new thing is sending, I don't feel like you're going to like this. I send a text, my daughter just had a second birthday. She got all these gifts. I just sent a picture of her opening the gift and said, thank you with a whole thing. Is that okay or do I have to do paper? Be honest.
Okay, here's the thing. So it's better than nothing.
Okay.
Can you take that as
yes. Give me the feedback. Yes.
I prefer handwritten thank you notes, especially with weddings because of the time and the effort and the money that's spent on gifts and being there. Yeah. So with weddings and not generic ones that are typed out and then you sign them, like handwritten ones. I just did it. So I know how long it takes and it's not maybe the most fun part, but it's important. You're a mom. I'll give you a pass on this one.
But I'm like, is it 2025 or are we skipping the pen and paper? But no, right?
No, not necessarily. But here's the thing. When it comes to correspondence with invitations, thank you notes, you want it to match the formality of your event, right? If you had some people over in your backyard for your daughter's birthday party and you sent an evite and that's okay, right? You send the text, thank you. Would I prefer a handwritten note? Of course. This is what I do. This is what I speak about. Think I should do this. But with a wedding, you want your correspondence to match the formality. So if you're having a black tie wedding, there should be no evites and no digital thank you notes.
Right. You can't send a text.
No.
Okay. No, I think that makes sense. And I'm the kind of person who I love getting thank you notes.
Me too.
So I do think okay, there is a beauty to giving them. I have to ask this because I do think weddings are one of the biggest parties a lot of people will throw. Oftentimes people are throwing these weddings. They don't often throw big gatherings. Yes. Maybe they've never thrown a party in their life. I'm a very awkward person. I overcompensate when I meet somebody. I got a lot of issues going on. How do you make somebody feel welcome when you're throwing a wedding or a rehearsal dinner or an engagement party and guests start to arrive and you're overwhelmed? You want to make sure everyone's having fun. What are the practical tips people can do to make people feel welcome the second they arrive?
So when it comes to a wedding, this is kind of in its own bucket. If you were to be throwing a different event, I would say individually greeting each guest at the door as the host. With weddings, there's sometimes multiple hosts, right? Perhaps your parents and guardians are acting as a host. You're partially a host. Maybe you're paying for the whole wedding, but your parents are still kind of hosting other events. So there's actually multiple people that you can give these jobs to. You and your partner are two people. It's two versus
a lot.
Could be 250 people. So it's kind of like you don't want to set yourself up to fail here. So this is like a strategy that you can have with the people closest to you, whether it's your, wedding party, your family, people closest to you. This is where you strategize and say, this is how we're greeting people, because you can't expect you and your partner to do it all. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Now, if you're having a birthday party with 25 people and you're hosting, I would prefer you to personally greet each person as the host. But with weddings, they're kind of in their own category.
Yeah, no, it is tough because a lot of what we're talking about is the guest experience, making sure people have a good time, being welcoming. How do you do all of that and enjoy yourself as the couple getting married? Because I see so many people who do not enjoy their own wedding.
Yes.
What do you do?
Here's the thing. I don't want it to have to be you don't enjoy it because you're only focused on the guest experience. That's not the message I want to get across. I think that the two things can coexist because the guest experience really starts from the very beginning.
Yeah.
How you're communicating details, how you're making things visually beautiful and exciting. That starts from the beginning. On the day of your wedding, my recommendation is when people are eating their meal, that's when you visit, to have a few words with each table. If you're not having a traditional wedding, like a sit down like that, perhaps during a cocktail hour where you can try and hit everybody. That allows you to kind of designate a certain time and space for it without you taking up the entire time, because it's your wedding. And this is like maybe the one day, my gosh, the etiquette people are going to come for me. This is the one day where you can be a little selfish about how you're hosting. And again, let this fall on other people, right? If you have your parents' friends there, or your wedding party knows all of your friends from school or work or whatever it is, let them, ask them for help in this situation. So visit everybody at dinner, but then talk about it beforehand. Like maybe assign each person a table. You make sure that this group of people, you check in with them, make sure they're having fun. That way it doesn't fall all on you and your partner.
No, I love that. And then I didn't have a traditional wedding. We got married on a sidewalk. Long story, but you're saying, okay, greet everyone during the dinner. My fear as an overcompensator, people pleaser, is that each of these convos is 15 minutes long and then there's the whole night. So how do you keep these convos to a minimum as the people getting married? How do you exit the convo to move to the next person or the next table?
So you have to stay in control of the conversation. Now, the biggest thing here is you need to take it upon yourself to end it. Now, what does that look like? You may, chat for a few minutes, then you may bring up something that you talked about, whatever it is. But the most important thing here is that at the right point, you give a closed sentence and not an open sentence. An open sentence would be like, I'm so happy you were able to make it.
That's open?
Because now that opens like them to talk about their travel here and, you growing up and whatever it is. So instead it's, I'm so happy you were able to make it. I really hope that you have the best time. I'm going to go visit the table over there. Closed.
Okay, yeah, because I feel like my closing is, I'm so glad you're here. And then I'm like waiting for them to say, oh, go say hi to the next person. It never happens. No, and then we're talking about the trip, we're talking about the grandkids, and it's an hour-long thing. So you're saying, I'm so happy that you were able to make it. I hope you have a great time. I'm going to go say hello to Uncle John.
Period.
Okay.
That's
period's the tough part.
Right, but that's a closed sentence. Anytime this applies to anything. Anytime you're speaking to someone, if you leave it open, like, I'm going to go grab some food. Now that person's like, oh, I'll come with you. You've left it open. You've allowed them to stay in your space.
So what do you say?
Versus, I'm going to go grab some food. It was so great talking to you. I hope you have the best rest of your night. Period.
My other flaw is I'll be like, it was so great talking to you. I'll come back and see you in a few minutes.
No. Put up that.
I'm so bad at ending these things.
But you know
what?
So
bad.
You know what? You can sit with the fact that being polite and being fully present with the person in the moment can coexist with having a boundary.
So true. So you have to say, I'm going to go get another drink. It was so great chatting with you. I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Period.
Done. Okay. I think I have to practice that out loud because it's not natural for me.
Yes, practice it.
You know, it's not.
Practice it. You just, and no matter what your excuse is, so to speak, of why you're moving on, it just needs to end in a way that says, we're closing this conversation.
What if they don't give you the natural pause? What if they just keep rambling? Mm-hmm. Do you kind of how do you step in without being impolite?
Yes. So what you would do is kind of when you have a moment to, I don't want to say interrupt, but start your sentence, you sort of start to summarize what they're talking about, right? So you'll say something like, oh, I really loved hearing about this, or it was so interesting to hear all about your trip from Italy. I'm sure we could talk about this for hours, you know, and or you could propose like another time that you could talk about this. I really want to hear more about your trip when all this crazy wedding stuff is over. Let's set up a time so we can like really you and I sit and, you know, you make them feel, and it's true, right? Yeah. You do want to hear about their trip. You want to be genuine about it, but you don't have the capacity to sit for a 20-minute conversation at your own wedding. So you reframe it as, I really want to hear about this, but look, I have like 20 more tables I need to go talk to, right? But I want to hear about this. So you go enjoy the rest of your night. Let's set up time to talk about this after the wedding.
I love that. And I love the honesty too of, I really want to talk about this. I have to go say hi to all these other people right now.
They understand. You know, they understand.
Yeah. Because sometimes when you're in conversation, the people forget that there's other people in the room because they're so happy to talk to you. So I think it's good to frame it that way.
You're the star. You're the moment. They want their time with you. But you can be polite and be fully present when you're with them, but you can't let it take up your whole evening.
No. And speaking of no, I want to talk about the word no and etiquette around it. Weddings ask people in your life to do things they might not feel comfortable doing, whether it's being a bridesmaid or even spending money on a bachelorette party or wearing a dress you don't feel comfortable in or attending a wedding that you don't really want to go to. What are the polite ways or the right etiquette to say no in situations without ruining the relationship?
I want to empower people to say no. I think allowing us to say no makes us more intentional about the things that we say yes to. Now, to back up as the person who's asking these questions, we go back to that upfront communication, right? Before you even ask someone to be a bridesmaid, you need to lay out all of the expectations. Now, you may not know exactly how much the bachelorette weekend will cost, but you know, a local 2-day thing where no one has to fly versus a tropical destination is going to look very different.
Yeah.
So when you ask someone, you kind of lay it all out. This is what I'm thinking for the bachelorette weekend. This is what I'm paying for. This is what I'm expecting you to pay for. Maybe it's not the most comfortable conversation to have, but this is where so many of the issues arise from, is that there's a lack of communication. So now on the other end, if you want to say no, the best way to say no is to sandwich it between two positive things. So your positive thing is, let's use the example of saying no to being a bridesmaid, right? So we sandwich it between two positive things and we don't over-explain. So the first thing might be, I could not be more excited that you're getting married. As much as I would love to be a bridesmaid, it's not something that I can take on at this chapter of my life. However, I want to be involved in some other way. Please let me know what I can do to help you plan, to support you through this, even though I can't take on that role right now.
It's so hard to be mad at you when you say that to me. I hear that and I think to myself, I really respect that. I really, really respect that. It's mature, it's thoughtful, it's nice, and it's hard to be mad at you to say that.
And I'm not over-explaining.
No, you're not.
I'm giving a valid reason. This is something I cannot take on at this moment. Listen, if this is your best friend and you need to give a little bit of more explanation because that seems too surface level, you know, you have to kind of mold it to the individual situation. But anytime you say no, if you can sandwich it between two positive things, or even offer an alternative at the end to let the person know that this doesn't have to necessarily do with them. It's more so maybe it's finances, right? This is not something I can take on financially right now.
I also feel like when you overcompensate the middle part and you're like, I can't take this on right now because I have a 2-year-old and I'm really busy with work and I'm stressed and I don't sleep at night anymore and all that, you're putting your baggage on the other person who asked you for a nice thing.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes the dynamic feel kind of icky.
Yes.
Because you're taking a nice thing that they asked you and you're throwing so much like baggage on top of it.
100%.
That it kind of is messy. But when you say it like that, it's so hard for me not to be like, I understand.
Well, think about the energy that's coming from each instance, right? One of them feels tired and negative and complaining and naggy.
Yes.
And the other seems confident.
Yeah.
It seems sensitive. It seems understanding, compassionate, positive, right?
Yeah.
You're saying the same thing, but you're delivering it in a way that the overall message is a lot more positive, which is what we want to aim for with everything, especially when we're going to give someone an answer that they don't want to hear.
No, it's so true. But let's talk about the timing of this, because saying no, once you have come to the conclusion that you want to say no, it's very easy to push that off, to tell the person for a very long time. So should you tell the person as soon as possible? Should you do it when you're ready? Like, what is the etiquette of saying no, whether it's to be a bridesmaid or to attending a wedding?
So the bridesmaid, I would say, if it's something that you're not able to answer right on the spot, should be as close to as the time they asked you as possible. You know, they need to make plans. It's most respectful. Plus, you don't want this marinating, right?
No.
It's just awkward. The more you wait, or the longer you wait. In terms of saying no to a wedding, then we could talk about RSVPs till the cows come home, but as soon as you know that you are not able to attend a wedding, hopefully before the response date, in a perfect world, things come up, but let's say, a normal circumstance, you won't be able to attend or you don't want to attend, you need to RSVP as soon as you can. The couple, there's so many things weighing on or waiting on that number, right? Stationery, final count to the vendors, to the venue. So it's respectful as soon as you know to RSVP before the deadline.
I got to save the date for a wedding that was far away, and I knew there was a 0 chance I could go to this wedding. It just logistically could not make this happen. But I felt bad saying no when the save the date came in.
Good. Yes.
Because I was thinking to myself, this person's so excited. I texted her a picture of the save the date. I was like, it's beautiful. And she was like, I really hope you can come. And I said, yeah. Like, I don't know what I said, but definitely gave her false hope, because that's very on brand for me. But I felt bad in that moment saying, the save the date is beautiful. I'm so sorry I can't make it. However, it would have been the right thing, because she's probably counting me in. And then I got the invitation. And by that point, she spent money on me and all these things. Should I have told her the minute I got the save the date? Should I have told her a couple of months later? Should I have waited for the invitation to come?
I think if you knew whether you had a previous commitment or it just wasn't working with your life at the time, you can tell them when the save the date comes. Now, maybe it's not like the exact second. Let them relish in their excitement for a minute. Maybe it's the next week, right? Yeah. But I think it's when we talk about the communication, that goes both ways, right? It goes internally for the people planning, but also for the guests.
Yeah.
Communicating is so important and it's so appreciated. And I can almost guarantee that any couple would appreciate knowing. Now, with that, the proper etiquette would be, as a side note, would be for the couple to still send you an invitation.
Oh, interesting.
The reason why is because you're still on their invitation list. A save the date is not an invitation. And so while it's polite for you to give them a heads up, you're still on their invitation list.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
So even if I got the save the date, I'm like, thank you, can't come, love you so much. They should still send me an invitation.
That's not an official invitation or an official response.
Wow. This is mind-blowing.
What if your
I didn't know
plans
that.
changed? You're still a guest, and this is funny. I'm in the phase of life where I have my whole friend group is getting married within 13 months. So we're very in the wedding planning mode right now. And this is actually a question that someone asked me recently, that someone let them know they couldn't come, based on the save the date. And I said, you still have to send them an invitation.
This is something I swear I didn't know. And my mind is blown, because you are right. I mean, things do change. This has happened where I've said no to a save the date and I have ended up coming to the wedding because plans change. But I never thought that, because in my head, I'm like, okay, they're going to delete me from the invite list, send someone else the invite instead. But wow, and also like giving a gift-wise, sometimes when you get the invitation, it's another reminder to give the couple a gift if you're not going to attend as well.
It's definitely the guest list in general is a slippery slope, because you can have the whole conversation about the backup people, which I am not a fan of. But it's still, your guest list is your guest list, and the save the dates are optional if you think about it, right? It's simply a way to communicate, to literally mark this date off your calendar. It's not an invitation that requires a response. And so while it's polite for you to say I can't make it, that's not an official correspondence with an invitation.
Wow.
So that's where the etiquette gets a little technical,
Yeah. No,
right?
but I do like that because also I am a very sentimental person. So if you send me your invitation, it's going to hang on my fridge for a while. I might keep it. So even if I can't attend, I really would appreciate getting the invitation as well. Yes. So I really, really love that.
This episode is brought to you by Pearl Planner. Our wedding day was perfect, but 18 months ago, I was overwhelmed, behind, and buried in spreadsheets with 300 tasks ahead of me. Then I found Pearl Planner. Now Pearl Planner gets everything out of my head and off my list. It's like having a type A best friend who helps you plan your wedding, except she's powered by AI, so you won't wake her up when you message her at 3 a.m. I just answered a few questions and boom, vision board, personalized checklist, tailored to my style, my budget, and my venue. No more spreadsheets I forget to update, no more sticky notes stuck to my dog. Everything is in one place and it actually makes sense. This morning I said, Pearl, my mother-in-law added 7 more guests. Help. Pearl just took care of it so I could take care of myself. When I want to check things off, I do. When I don't, I just ask Pearl AI to help. Dress recs? Done. For me, my bridal party, my cousin who insists on statement sleeves? Handled. Need help wording your invitation? Pearl's got it. Need honeymoon recs? Already packed my sunscreen. And because Pearl's connected to David's bridal, every purchase earns me diamond points. So yeah, I'm literally planning my way to a free honeymoon. Planning doesn't feel like a second job anymore, it feels fun. Pearl Planner. Wedding planning powered by AI, fueled by love. Start planning now for free.
Before we dive into today's caller, I want to talk about secrets. I always feel like it's right that we share a secret before listening to a stranger's secret. Today's secret, I am very mortified to tell you this, but I'm just going to go for it. Okay. I am almost 37, and I'll preface this by saying I'm a lifelong vegetarian, so I don't eat meat.
Okay.
This is true, I cannot properly use a fork and knife to cut things. I never fully learned how. So when I attempt to do it with salad, it's disgusting and it's a disaster. And I just try when I'm going out with people to order things that you don't have to cut.
Okay. Number 1, we should not be cutting our salads. So we're gonna have a discussion on that.
Stop.
Number 2.
What? Really?
Number 2. I'm here to help you.
Okay, first validate me. Is it weird that I'm this old and I can't use a fork and knife?
I don't think it's weird. If we're never taught something, how can we expect to know it?
It's embarrassing though. I mean, yeah, I should, but also as a vegetarian, you're not eating meaty things. So what are you really cutting?
Totally.
But also that's an excuse.
We will have to.
Okay, so you don't cut salad if you have huge pieces of lettuce?
We'll have to. This is a whole other. How much time do you have?
I went out to dinner with my friend and she was cutting her salad and I was like, I can't eat the salad in front of her.
Okay, we'll work on this.
Okay, do you teach classes though, right? Because
yes.
I need to come to a class.
Yes.
Is it for people like me?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So the way that I teach is I teach from a place of empowerment and not correction.
Okay,
because I don't want the word etiquette to scare people.
It scares me.
It has a lot of baggage to it, the word.
Yes.
And it can have an antiquated kind of perception.
Yeah.
And so I like to look at it as a form of empowerment to give you what you need to feel confident, because you're saying right now that you sit at a table and you feel weird about it.
Beyond. I'm ordering things that don't involve silverware.
Okay. Well, we're going to work on that.
Okay.
I'm here for you.
I have been so nervous to share this with you because it's so embarrassing. I feel like only my husband knows this, and around him I just eat things with my hand.
That's okay. Well, we're going to work on this so that you never have to think about it again.
Okay, by the next time we have another podcast episode, I'll be healed. I will show on this podcast the skills that Mariah taught me, and we're not cutting lettuce.
I should have brought my teaching kit.
The first thing
we could have done a little mini lesson here.
I thought we all cut lettuce, but okay, we don't cut lettuce. If you have a secret, I am happy to listen to it.
Okay, my secret, I don't know if this is a good secret, but something that people might not know about me is that I am world's biggest scaredy cat.
No way.
I am the dark, any movie that you may not even think is remotely scary, I am scared.
Really?
I am a scaredy cat.
When did this start happening?
Oh, my whole life. I used to sneak into my parents' bed as a kid because I had nightmares. Maybe this is a bigger problem than just being a scaredy cat. I don't know.
Go on.
But when my husband travels we both travel a lot for work, and unfortunately not at the same times, I will literally check behind the shower before I go to bed. I'm just the dark. I'll sleep with all the lights on.
No.
I'm a scaredy cat.
Will you ever watch scary movies intentionally or no? Like you won't even put yourself through that. Will you do a haunted house?
No. Oh my goodness, no. I did one against my will 2 years ago, and I dug my face so far into my husband's shirt, he's wearing a black shirt, that like my makeup imprint was like in the back of his shirt. My in-laws took us. It was like a pop-up thing here in the city, and a nightmare.
Do you think there's anything you can do to get over the fear?
No, I think I'm just a scaredy cat.
Does he mind if you have a nightlight or anything if he's home?
If he's home, I'm good.
You're fine. So as long as you have someone with you,
yes,
you're okay.
Yes.
What about like going out at night? Obviously in New York City, that doesn't really apply. There's lights everywhere. But would you be scared if you were like out at night all dark?
Oh yeah. Wow. Absolutely. I'm a full-blown scaredy cat.
Okay, I love this. That would never be what I would think for you. But
really?
You're so confident. You're so put together. I'm like,
you.
I bet she doesn't fear anything, like at all.
No, I fear a lot of things.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
I will get you into a haunted house. Somehow I'll help you with that fear if you help me with silverware. I'm
happy to just help you with the silverware and not need anything in return.
I feel like I owe you something.
Not a haunted house. You can owe me something else.
I also am not a fan of these haunted houses, but I feel you. Let's talk about the caller this week. Okay. Hi, Jen. This is Melissa from Denver. I'm facing a wedding etiquette dilemma that's causing a lot of stress. I received a wedding invitation from a former colleague who I haven't spoken to in almost 2 years. We were close when we worked together, but since she's left the company, our communication has been limited to occasional likes on just social media. The invitation doesn't include a +1 option, though I have known my partner even before I worked at the company, and she has met him a couple times at events. The wedding is also an expensive destination that would require us to take off work and spend quite a bit of money on travel. Here's my question. What is the proper etiquette when you're invited to a wedding by somebody that you're no longer close with? Is it rude to decline simply because we've drifted apart or because I can't bring my partner? I feel guilty about potentially saying no, but also confused why I was invited in the first place. How do I respond graciously without being obligated to attend a costly event for somebody who isn't really active in my life? There's a lot here. Mm-hmm. There's a lot. What do you think?
It's pretty simple.
Okay, tell me everything.
I think that you don't go. But there's a way that we can do this. So when it comes to, you think about like a wedding response, there's not much required. It's either a written card where you need to like check off yes or no, or it's a digital response. So if you don't have a super close relationship with the person in the first place, it doesn't necessarily warrant a reason why you are not attending. As long as you RSVP, that's what's respectful in this situation. Now, a step further, send a gift. Perhaps you want to send a note that says, I'm so sorry I'm not able to make it. I hope it's the best weekend ever. That would be really nice to do. But no one ever needs to feel obligated to attend a wedding. Now, if this is – I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. What's interesting is I feel like I can never just RSVP to a card. Mm-hmm. Even if it's a yes or a no, I say I mail it in, and then I have to have a book of a response back, whether it's I'm so excited, I love you, or I can't go, blah, 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 blah. So you're saying it is okay to send back the card, perhaps send a gift, maybe if you want, send a little note. That's good enough.
Especially, I mean, it sounds like she doesn't even have a strong relationship with her anymore.
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about like your first cousin, your childhood best friend, that's different. Then you're calling them up to, and that maybe warrants a real reason why you can't attend. Maybe this would be a different situation if this was someone super close to her and we were talking about the whole +1 issue. Maybe that would be different. But for this relationship, for this instance specifically, you don't have a super strong relationship. A simple no with well wishes and a small gift is perfect. You don't need to over-explain.
Yeah, I feel like people think they have to go to every wedding they're invited to. Mm-hmm. Like we feel bad, we feel guilty, or we just feel so honored that we were invited.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, why do you think it's okay that people just say no? Like, we can do that. Why do we feel so bad about it?
I know there is a guilt that comes with it, but the no comes for so many reasons.
Yeah.
It can be financial. It can be that you simply don't have the capacity to take on something. It could be that you have a previous commitment. It could be that you're dealing with a health issue. There's a million reasons why we wouldn't be able to attend an event, let alone something that we have to get on a plane for or travel far for. And so I don't think, again, if this is the person closest to you, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But you're being invited as an acquaintance, as a work colleague, as a whatever it is, you don't have to feel guilty. You don't need to stretch yourself so thin.
You're right. Do you have to send a gift?
So I say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't need to be the same value of the gift as if you were to attend. This is like a very big conversation because back in the day, it was like you paid for the cost of to cover the plate.
Yes.
Now it's like weddings come in so many different shapes and sizes. It's not a good rule of thumb. People ask me all the time about a monetary suggestion, and it's so difficult for me to recommend that because it's individual finances, it's relationship with the person, it's geographical location. There's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
And so I don't like to recommend numbers.
Yeah.
But I will say that when it comes to gift giving for a wedding, it's about the gesture.
Yeah.
More so than the value. And so for this person who's not attending, perhaps you pick something off of their registry that doesn't break your bank. But the gesture is, wow, that's really nice that they sent a gift that they can't attend. So that's what I always do. If I can't attend a wedding, I go right on their registry and see, something within my budget that I could send them with a note that's wishing them well, as a way to say, I see you, I'm sorry I can't make it, without feeling like I have to spend an incredible amount of money on a gift.
Yeah, the gift giving etiquette is so fascinating. My friend admitted to me, she got married in 2015. At that, I was in my 20s. I didn't have a lot of money. She kept, and this is normal probably, she kept a whole spreadsheet of everyone who came, how much they gave, and then she, when they get married, gives the same amount. Is that what you're supposed to do? Is that okay?
I think that's fine. I think at that point now we're talking like 10 years later. Maybe that's a little bit, within a couple of years or within a friend group, I think that's absolutely fine. 10 years, things have changed.
Yeah.
So maybe not so much. But the gift giving is a tricky subject because especially when people think about, destination weddings or weddings or what about if you're in a wedding? You've already spent all this money.
Yeah.
And so my kind of go-to response to that is that it's about the gesture.
Yeah.
It's about the gesture. You can't be spending more than you're able to. Nobody wants you to go beyond your means. Of course, if you're able to give and, celebrate with them in that way, please, by all means.
Yeah.
But it's also very interesting because I grew up in New Jersey, and in the Northeast, it's very customary to give an actual physical gift for the shower and then to give a monetary gift for the wedding.
Yes.
That is not the case in a lot of other places in the country. So that's another thing to consider too, that gift giving, not only does the monetary value differ geographically, but so does kind of the practices. What is
the general practice? Is it to just give one gift at the wedding or give one gift at the bridal shower? Because in Florida, I grew up in Florida, and it was very much the same, is that you gave a gift from the registry for the bridal shower, and then you gave a monetary gift if you could for the wedding.
Yes.
But then I've been to weddings all over the country where people will bring like giant physical gifts to I worked a wedding in Minnesota, I'm not lying. Somebody brought a bench to the wedding that they had engraved with the couple's name, a huge bench. And I'm working this wedding. The bride says to me, how do I get this home?
Well, what a beautiful gift. But I would say in general etiquette is we don't bring a physical gift to the wedding.
Yeah. Crazy.
Now, culturally, that might be different in certain circumstances, but generally speaking, we don't want to we don't want to be walking into a wedding with a blender. Like you're in a gown and you're holding like a
But I
Cuisinart.
have seen that a lot. And it makes it difficult for the couple.
Yes.
Very difficult for them.
Right.
Yeah.
As much as the couple, you want to put the guests at ease, we also, as guests, don't want to give the couples more work, which, again, whole other conversation.
Yeah. But, thinking about the bench, obviously that was not on their registry. What is the etiquette around gifting things that are off registry? Are you allowed to do that? Should you do that?
I think you're allowed to do anything. A gift is a gift and should be, graciously accepted by the couple. As a person attending the wedding, I'm thinking I want to get them something that they want or that they need.
Right.
So I always try and shop off the registry. Now, if there's something that's not within my budget or whatever the case, then you can, veer off. Maybe you have a special idea that you do for everybody getting married. But generally speaking, the registry is a safe bet both ways.
I know.
Makes your life easier. You don't have to sit there and look for a gift.
I love the whole registry thing. It's tough now because a lot of people are just doing like the cash registries. And that's tough because you're like, okay, with the physical gift, you can get a coupon, you can get on sale. Maybe I was going to spend $50, but I found something on sale for $25. Now I get them two things. I look like a hero, right? But the cash situation, you're like, okay, now I have to like give you a dollar amount. That puts pressure because now I have to feel like I have to give you a little bit more. It's good. I love cash. I wanted cash for my wedding, but it's awkward as a giver.
This is how etiquette evolves, right? Back in the day, this would never even be a discussion,
right?
But
totally.
with wedding websites now, it's changed.
Yeah.
So as the couple, I always say if you are asking for monetary gifts, you have to do it tactfully.
Yeah.
And that means like not putting something that says monetary gifts only or heaven forbid a Venmo
Oh my God.
QR code. I mean, I've seen
dream,
crazy things.
I would love to have done that, but obviously I have a little more tact than that. But that would have been a dream. But yeah.
So I always tell people use the platform. So like if you use a wedding website that has like a beautiful thing, you could put a photo and it says in lieu of physical gifts, or perhaps you use a website that, honeymoon experiences that show people exactly what the money will be going towards. This is a huge debate of whether or not people think that it's acceptable.
Yeah.
I say we're in the 21st century. We need to evolve with the times, but there is a tactful way to request it.
Yeah.
And again, as the giver, you give what you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we had a very non-traditional wedding and we got
I want to hear more about this sidewalk thing.
Basically, we got engaged 2019, sent out invitations March 2020, pre-pandemic, like right before the pandemic. Invitations go out. We send wedding cancellation cards like 2 months later because we realized it's not going to happen. The next year, we said, okay, we don't want to wait any longer. We don't want to do this. So we got married on the anniversary of our first date outside of the coffee shop that we met.
Oh my gosh.
And people watched on Zoom because it was still COVID and we had a couple people there. And we didn't have anything traditional at all. I don't even think we had gifts or anything, but people gave us stuff, which was very, very nice. And people gave us gift cards, which I'm sure is another very non-traditional thing. But I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was nice because cash, we loved the cash, of course, but the gift cards were good because it allowed us to use it for purpose. Like whether
pick out things you needed.
Yeah, a restaurant or something like that. So I liked it. Is there any etiquette around gift card giving for weddings?
I think it's fine. I mean, I think it's more customary to do a physical gift for the shower and then like a check or cash for the wedding.
Yeah.
But again, at the end of the day, a gift is a gift. And it's gracious for the attendee, for the guest to give it, and it should be graciously accepted by the couple. It's so nuanced in how we talk about gifts, but the bottom line at the end of the day, a gift is a gift.
I do agree. I know one other thing that the caller said was the +1 situation. And this is a loaded situation, but let's say we cut out a lot of it, and the only issue here is that she doesn't get a +1. Is that, I know you're going to say yes, she can still say no. What is the etiquette behind +1s? Do we ask if they're left off the invitation? Do we just assume it's a no?
I talk a lot about this in my book because this is another like loaded subject.
Yeah.
So as the couple planning the wedding, the most important thing, and even for guests, just people in general need to understand the difference between a +1 and a partner because they are different. If you are in a long committed relationship with someone, whether that be a partnership, a marriage, engagement, whatever it is, that is your partner. You either live with them, you've been with them for multiple years. That is your partner. That is not your +1.
Yeah.
A +1 is saying, Jen, you're single, and I am giving you the option to bring whoever you want with you. Without question, I have given you a guest. That's a +1. So that's the mistake that people make in the beginning is they mix up a partner and a +1.
Yeah.
In this case, that person I don't know the whole story, sounds like it's their partner.
Yeah.
Like a long-established partner. So in that case, if the other person's name was not on the invitation, they are not invited. I think that that's not necessarily correct because they kind of come as a package deal.
Yeah. So I have heard from I have a couple of friends who were invited to weddings and their husbands were not invited, not because they weren't liked, but because of space issues. And the kicker was they were going to have to travel to these weddings. So the husband's not invited, they have to travel, and they were really offended. They said no.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. And you know what? To play devil's advocate for the people who, maybe space and finances were an issue and they really wanted you there. And I understand we could see both sides, but from an etiquette perspective, you have to invite someone's long-term partner.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, you don't need to give every single guest a +1.
Right.
That's definitely not what I'm saying here. If you are giving +1s, though, you need to be consistent about it. Like you can't give your favorite people a +1 and then, your college friends get a +1, but your work friends don't. It needs to be you're either giving single guests a +1 or you're not giving any single guests a +1.
Okay, so this is interesting because I think a lot of people when they do their guest list, they're like, I'm giving a +1 to these 5 people, but everybody else cannot have one. And that causes a lot of tension. So you're saying if you're going to do the +1 thing, it has to be universal?
Yes, or not at all. So you choose one way or the other, but if you are saying yes, you need to be equipped to be able to give every single guest a +1.
How do you as the couple determine if the person's a partner or not? Is it just based on years together? Because I can see people be like, I'm confused. I know Jesse and this person have been together for a while, but what's that cutoff? Like, how do you know?
There's not like a real cutoff, but I would say if this is someone like they're seeing and it's, within 6 months, that to me is not really a partner. If this is someone they've been together for multiple years, maybe they're not living together yet, but they've been together for 2 or 3 years, you've met them multiple times, they're a part of their life as an established partner, that's a partner. Not someone that they're casually dating for a few months.
Yeah. So in this caller situation, it seems like she has 2 paths. She can say no, call it a day. We talked about that. She can say yes and go. But I almost fear that she goes and she resents this person. It's awkward. She realizes she made a big mistake. Or maybe she goes and she has the best time and they rekindle a friendship.
It sounds like to me that she doesn't want to go, but she just feels bad about why. And so I would encourage her to not feel bad and to, be flattered that she was invited and send a gift and maintain the relationship as much or as little as she wants to. But I don't blame her for not wanting to travel. And I don't blame her for being confused why her partner wasn't included.
I agree. I think before you say yes to a wedding that you're not sure about, ask yourself why you're going.
Yes.
Is it because you want to make the other person happy? Is it because you feel like you have to go? But if there's a part of you that wants to go, that's different.
Sure.
So I think you need to be super, super clear on that before. Before we go, I want to ask you a question. If someone's listening and they want to make an amazing first impression, I know you just talked about this on Instagram, what are some of the things that people can do to make a powerful first impression, whether at a wedding or just on a date or in life in general?
So it's important to understand the way that we're perceived by people, right? Because if we can understand how someone's viewing us and how they're forming their first impression, we can be empowered to kind of put our best foot forward. So it takes us 7 seconds to make a first impression, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
You barely get to know somebody it's impossible to get to know someone within 7 seconds. And so over 55% of the way that we communicate with people and the way that people perceive us is through our nonverbal behavior. So we want to put extra attention to our body language when it comes to our first impression. So that means entering a room with confidence. Sometimes the entrance into a room is part of that 7 seconds. So that means taking a breath, not running in from where you were before, things flying out of your bag. You put your phone away, you check your posture, you make eye contact with others in the room, you smile, you take a moment to allow your presence to be seen in that case. And then, making sure that if you shake someone's hand or wave or whatever it is, that you say your name confidently, like all of those things that you can do really quickly and focus on that body language because that's what the person's remembering. Their brain subconsciously is looking at your nonverbal behavior and feeling your energy more so than focusing on the words you're saying.
Should you match their energy?
Not necessarily. I think that puts people in a box. Yeah. And I'm a big proponent of or a big fan of people being themselves. And so I'm a very high energy person, and that doesn't mean that someone's more reserved should feel like they have to match my speed.
Yeah. I have to know, how did you get into this etiquette world? Were you always interested in it? Did something happen where you're like, I want to focus on this?
I've always been an old soul since I was young. And so I've always had a passion for excellence but also for, a passion for presenting myself in a certain way and understanding the importance of that. I grew up doing pageants on my own, not something my parents pushed me into. And so I really understood the importance of how to speak about yourself, how to present yourself. And so I pursued a career in fashion, moved to New York City after college, and I took an etiquette course on a whim. Never took a course as a child. I never grew up with anything formal or even with the word etiquette in my house, just with the idea that kindness and respect and, leaving others better than you found them. Those were kind of the foundations that I was raised on. And so I took this etiquette course because I was looking to meet like-minded people when I moved here. And, as a 22-year-old would, right, take an etiquette course on a Saturday. And I kind of had a gut feeling in that moment that this is everything I was passionate about. I just couldn't find the word for it, right? Like helping people with their confidence, talking about how we present ourselves, talking about how we can shine our light and have the confidence to put our best foot forward. I didn't know what the word for that was. And when I took this course, I was like, I think this is it. And so a year later, I started an Instagram account to share my studies. I completed my first 2 certifications at that point for self-study. I was interested in learning more about it. I collected etiquette books, so I was doing a lot of like reading and self-study and certification programs. And then in June of 2021, I launched my website and did some virtual courses. And then in September of 2021, I took a huge leap of faith, left my corporate job in fashion.
Wow.
My business was not in a position to do that yet. I thought to myself, I have to give this 100% because if I don't, I'll never know where it can go. And if I fall on my face, I have a great fashion degree and I can pivot.
Especially in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And so I took a huge chance, and that was in September 2021. Never looked back.
Oh my God. This is like so incredible because it's such an interesting topic. It's not explored enough, I think, in our generation and people our age, especially around weddings. There's talks of etiquette, but there's nobody who really owns the topics.
I think it's also very misunderstood,
Yeah,
right? It's stuffy, it's formal, it's rules, it's this. And I like to look at it, like I said before, as tools and not rules.
Yeah.
And kind of redefine the idea of it so that people actually look at it as a way to empower them and not to keep them in line. So that's what it's more about that emotional intelligence, social skills, life skills that really help you to show up. I want to help people show up as you, right? I don't want to use the rules to put everybody in a box.
And these were things that they should have taught us all in school, but they didn't because it's life lessons that a lot of us lack. Clearly, I lack basic food etiquette skills. But this is fascinating. Where can our listeners learn more about you?
I'm all over social media, wherever you are. So Old Soul Etiquette is the name of Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And then my website is www.oldsoulettiquette.com.
Mariah, you are awesome. I can't wait to read your book. Thank you so much for doing the show today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Jen.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Pearl Planner. Our wedding day was perfect, but 18 months ago, I was overwhelmed, behind, and buried in spreadsheets with 300 tasks ahead of me. Then I found Pearl Planner. Now Pearl Planner gets everything out of my head and off my list. It's like having a type A best friend who helps you plan your wedding, except she's powered by AI, so you won't wake her up when you message her at 3 a.m. I just answered a few questions and boom, vision board, personalized checklist, tailored to my style, my budget, and my venue. No more spreadsheets I forget to update, no more sticky notes stuck to my dog. Everything is in one place and it actually makes sense. This morning I said, Pearl, my mother-in-law added 7 more guests. Help. Pearl just took care of it so I could take care of myself. When I want to check things off, I do. When I don't, I just ask Pearl AI to help. Dress recs? Done. For me, my bridal party, my cousin who insists on statement sleeves? Handled. Need help wording your invitation? Pearl's got it. Need honeymoon recs? Already packed my sunscreen. And because Pearl's connected to David's Bridal, every purchase earns me diamond points. So yeah, I'm literally planning my way to a free honeymoon. Planning doesn't feel like a second job anymore, it feels fun. Pearl Planner. Wedding planning powered by AI, fueled by love. Start planning now for free.
Thank you for listening to 1-800-Bridesmaid, and I hope this caller's story gave you something to think about. Have a wedding dilemma or relationship question? Submit your story on 1-800-Bridesmaid.com. Find more 1-800-Bridesmaid episodes wherever you get your podcasts and watch the full episodes on YouTube. For behind-the-scenes content and daily advice, follow Bridesmaid for Hire and Love Stories by Davids on Instagram and TikTok. If you enjoyed these stories, check out my book, Finally the Bride by Jen Glantz on Amazon. And remember, sometimes the best advice comes from strangers we meet along the way. Until next time, this is your professional bridesmaid signing off.